Here are a few benefits, hidden benefits of learning the Filipino language. Here's the first one. It is our pronouns are gender neutral. So I could be speaking to my mom about a friend and I'll say, ay, yung kaibigan ko, pumunta nga siya sa eskwela. And I could be talking like that for 10, 20 minutes, to which my mother would respond, teka, 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 wait a minute, is this a friend boy or a girl? Because you can't get away with she or he or his in using English because the pronouns are gender specific. So that's one hidden benefit of learning the Filipino language. Next is there is fluidity in time to the irritation, perhaps, of the Western culture, or if you're Filipino American. There is when we say pa and na, wala pa. Nandiyan na ba sila? Wala pa. Pa is not yet. Na, it's already there. And so the Filipino would come rushing to the party, if you will, if you've been waiting on them. And if you ask somebody to attend a party, there are many responses for a Filipino that's available for the Filipino. They might say, titingnan ko, I'll see. They might say, baka, maybe, that's maybe. They might say, pipilitin ko, I'll try my best. There's another one that's similar, sisikapin ko. When you say pila, there's more like, sounds like there's a hurdle and they would force themselves or make themselves beyond the hurdle. Sisikapin ko is very similar, but there's a sound that there's less hurdle there. Malamang is perhaps. So just giving you many different responses that may not be available if you only spoke English. You might just say yes, no, or maybe. And so that's one hidden benefit of learning the Filipino language. There's a lot more I call granulation. So when you think about color, it's like hues. So there's red, and then it gets lightly muted red, and then all the way it gets lighter and lighter, maybe gets to a pinkish color. That's granulation. So that's the second one. I think I mentioned two. Third is I'm looking at my notes. There's more granulation. So very similar with the emotional, explaining emotional experience. So in English, we would say um, sad, happy, mad. But in between, there's a lot more experiences. And mind you, I call it experiences. Um, I'll talk in a moment why that also can create frustration. But the beautiful thing and the hidden part of that is when you say tampo, it's not really being angry. It's just getting your feelings hurt. But there's no specific word in English to really share that emotional experience. Now, this also creates confusion, especially if you're raised in the West, because there is no specific language. We say, I'm tampo, nagtatampo ako. So we might say that, but it's harder for the receiver to capture it, to make it more clear. In America, there's a certain feature in the face when we think a person might be happy, but because there's more granulation, it's almost like a hue of color from red all the way to very, very light red. It's harder to find language there. By practice, if you're from the islands, you could possibly learn to attune to it more, but more difficult if you were raised in the West. So it's beautiful. It's a hidden benefit, but also can be confusing for um, people raised in the West, understandably so. Next one is, I mentioned this, the granulation um, in responses. But here's one thing I want to mention. Often, people would say Filipinos, or talking about Filipinos from the Philippines, are constantly saying sorry, or they're always apologizing. They might be apologizing. However, I want you to know most of them are probably saying, excuse me, something to that sort, or bear with me. There isn't just a specific language that translate to what they mean, except for the closer one is they apologize, sorry, but they're actually not sorry. But they're just saying, excuse me, oh, if you were offended, I'm sorry. But it's not like they would not have chosen to, if they were given another chance, not choose to do that action again, unless they're truly sorry and they're using it via the American definition. But they're just saying, oh, I'm sorry, pasensya ka na. Bear with me. I'm so sorry that that's your experience. But it's likely that they are not sorry as to the actual action. And often, I've also had that experience when I would say, initially, because I'm an immigrant, I would say, oh, sorry, oh, you don't have to be sorry. But I'm actually not sorry as far as their definition of sorry. And so that's one, that's the hidden benefit. There's a lot more in between than is an option or available if you just speak the English um, language. The fifth one is there is a wider sensorial experience. So let me explain. If you just simply use the word pangit, which is ugly, in American lexicon, that refers to just what you see, pangit, like ugly. Therefore, it's usually a negative connotation, a negative language, like you don't say ugly. However, in many other languages, there is a granulation. Again, there's a U. For instance, pangit is not used only for visual observation, but also pangit ang lasa, it tastes bad. Pangit ang dating, more like the energy of the person. Um, and there's a lot more, So it's a lot more sensorial. Pangit sa balat, you know? And so it is less offensive to Filipino immigrants when they, in general, hear that language. And I'm just saying in general. Now that we have the social media, it almost seemed that we are using definition from the West now. So I won't be surprised if Filipinos in the motherland are starting to feel or think that is starting to be offensive as well. But originally, without the globalization of the internet, where we see opinions from people from the West, from America, in general, the word pangit is just like, it's just an adjective. Um, and if you're in America, it's a very different adjective. You don't often hear it. So when you hear it, it's like, can be sound so condescending. And my point is it can be. And I teach my children the same thing, that there are many different granulation. So when they hear pangit, and I even say that, I am pangit ng something, they laugh. And I know I'm aware I'm teaching them the granulation rather than don't say pangit. Because that to me is a definition of the ugly that is only translatable in English. Now, of course, you have to teach your children that there is an inflection where somebody's trying to be condescending. And that's not hard to teach because usually um, we could sense that we can attune to that. But I hope that's helpful. I just shared 5 benefits of speaking the Filipino language. If you're interested in the ebook Pinoy Love Languages, it's a collection of the unique ways Filipinos attune and seek love or affection. I'll link that below. Again, this is Roanne Digio Samuels, licensed psychotherapist. I hope you're doing well. Maraming salamat.